Hi everyone, I'm Josh. Welcome today to my TBR for the summer of 2024, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. Here I'm going to be presenting 15 books, 15 new books that I'm hoping to read this entire quarter. I'm not trying to give you all the books I plan on reading because I plan on reading a lot, and I'm also not going to be repeating books I presented as planning to read before, meaning my backlist TBR, which there are 2 of 3 videos already up. Also, if there are books that are being carried over from the spring or winter quarter, I'm not going to mention those here. But first, before I do that, I'm also going to talk about what I'm currently reading since we're kind of already in the middle of July of this third quarter. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first book I'm currently reading is The Color of Distance by Amy Thompson, published in 1995, 390 pages. This is about a xenobiologist named Juna Sari. Stranded on an alien planet, she must adapt to the ways the native Tindu to survive. The novel explores themes of adaptation and environmentalism through Juna's struggle to reunite with her people. It's about alien life and survival. It's introspective and hopeful. I do not expect to finish this quarter. Actually, that's not true. I might. I'm about 80 pages through. That's not true. This far through, can you see that? Maybe a third. And I'm only reading it when I'm like sitting down or on the bus or something, because it's on audio or ebooks. So that's going to be a slow one. Similarly slow is going to be the next book, The Source of Self-Regard by Toni Morrison. Published 2019, 354 pages. It is a set of essays, speeches, and collections on meditations about society, culture by the Nobel laureate. The book reflects on aspects of human experience and the role of people in society. This is one I'm buddy reading with Erica for the Broken Spine. We're doing it very slowly. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't finish it this quarter. We're taking it slow, discussing each story as we go along. And this is just one that we're slowly working our way through. For obvious reasons, Toni Morrison is a very heavy writer, one of the hardest authors I've ever read. Then the next one I'm currently reading is Life and Times of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass, published in 1881, 400 pages. This is the third memoir biography in his autobiography series, and it's the last one. It chronicles his life as a slave, his time escaping to freedom, and his rise as a leading abolitionist. It details his efforts to end slavery, his relationships with other activists, and his work with President Lincoln during the Civil War. Now, what's interesting about this one is that I've read the first 2, and what he chooses to do is not continue off where he left off. He tells each one starting from the beginning of his life. And when I'm done, I'm definitely going to have to do some reflection to understand why he approached it that way. Because in some ways it feels like he's rehashing things he's already talked about. Another way, it's like he's approaching the same topic from a different lens for the different purpose. And I think I'm going to have to do a bit more reviewing to understand and appreciate what that is. Either way, I'm excited to be getting through this last one. This is a book that I'm reading for the 4th of July. I'd like to read at least one nonfiction book related to American history, and this is the one that I'm focusing on. I may read others eventually, but this is the primary one, hence why I'm currently reading it, even though technically July 4th has already passed. And the next one I'm reading is Hellbound Hearts, edited by Paul Kane and Marie Aragon, published 2009, 326 pages. It is an anthology of horror stories inspired by Clive Barker's Hellraiser universe, featuring tales of dark desires and grotesque creatures. It explores the boundaries of pleasure and pain. I love Hellbound Hearts, or the Hellbound Heart, Clive Barker's Cenobite series, or story rather. And so I was excited to get into this, and I still am. As I read it, I do recognize there's a level of gratuitousness to it, and I wonder whether or not this is a book I can really recommend. The last one that I'm currently reading, which I know I'm reading a lot, is The Witching Hour by Anne Rice, published in 1990. It's 965 pages. The Witching Hour is a book about a witch from a long line of witches who discovers her heritage and must confront her family's dark past. It spans generations, blending supernatural elements with rich historical detail. Now, I think I've tried reading this once before, and did after because I wasn't feeling it. I chose to read this one for a few reasons. One, I have my ongoing backlist goal of reading more backlist books, even though this wasn't necessarily on my list there. Ultimately, I was just granted it at Libby. I was granted the audiobook, and I figured, I could use an easy read. This is one that I'm honestly listening to at pretty fast speed, like 2.4, maybe 2.5, because it's not something I consider necessarily very amazing fiction. Well, I don't expect it to be, and so far it's good and entertaining. But the main reason I'm reading it is because it's one of those books that I figured it could be an easy, fun read. I'm really leaning into picking up books more casually that when I feel like I'm in a down mood, or if I find myself getting overwhelmed by a book that I think is really thoughtful or just takes a bit more of my attention, I might move over to something that I know will be easier thing to consume. That way I'm reading more of things that still interest me, if not as much, while not letting myself get burnt out. That's the goal. That's sort of where this book fits in to why I'm currently reading it, even though it's not something that I was necessarily extremely excited about, just mildly intrigued and happened to get it available to me. Now on to the actual TBR. First up, let's talk about Brandon Sanderson's Dawnshard and Rhythm of War, the novella 3.5 and the book 4. I am reading these leading up to the new release. Of course, it follows the Stormlight Archive as we continue the battle to defeat evil. I won't get into the details because they're all sort of not the same, but I don't know. How do I just talk about it without spoiling it? I've talked about this already. I see this kind of like I see The Witching Hour, maybe a bit more positively, in the sense that I feel like I'm getting more out of this. At the very least, it's gonna be fun to be involved with the conversation going on. I also think this one is probably more thoughtful than The Witching Hour in how it crafts the world, and it does have compelling characters and a compelling story. So another one that is, I think, an easy enough read, if a little bit overwhelming in the details. Next up is going to be Bridesmaid Revisited by Evelyn Waugh, published in 1930, 452 pages. This follows Captain Charles Ryder. He's disillusioned with the army during World War II and is stationed at Brideshead Castle and recalls his friendship with Sebastian Flyett and the Flyett family, which profoundly influenced his life. The novel explores themes of nostalgia, faith, and the decline of English aristocracy. This is a book I'm reading for a project, but also fits into my backlist TBR. Next up, we have The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo, published in 2017, 328 pages. It is a book that follows Lucy and Gabe's lives that are intertwined from the moment they met in 2001, in 9/11, that is. The relationship faces the many challenges over the next 13 years. Their journey explores themes of love, fate, and sacrifices made in the pursuit of dreams. It's basically a love story. It fits into the same project that I'm reading Bridesmaid Revisited for. If you figure out what it is, hopefully you'll see the video soon enough. Next up is The Mirror Wife by Maria Dahvana Headley. Published in 2018, 308 pages, The Mirror Wife is a modern retelling of Beowulf set in suburban America, focusing on a feud between two families. The novel explores their themes of heroism, monstrosity, and social expectations. Of course, it has to do with mythology, and it can be dark. I'm reading this again for the backlist TBR. I actually alluded to this book or talked about it in my backlist TBR, but it's not one that I actually counted. I'm reading Beowulf, or I want to read Beowulf during this quarter. And when I do that, I'll be planning on reading this. It's kind of a project of rereading or reading the Beowulf book in its entirety, along with some variations on the translations. I am being very ambitious this year in this quarter with the projects I'm hoping to finish and get through. And I think it is plausible, but life's life, and whether or not I actually get to the video is one thing. At the very least, I'm sure I'll read it. And there's a fine line between reading something and then talking about it with something thoughtful to say. Next up, we're going to be transitioning to less projects, more just general books I want to read. The Rules Breaker by Susan Page, published in 2024. It's 464 pages. It is a biography of Barbara Walters. Susan Page is a journalist who I've read multiple books by. Usually it's about powerful women in history that I've often overlooked. I really like her writing style, and I think she has a really powerful way, a really good way of telling the story of someone's life that is reflective and informative. She has a way of really making you interested, I think, or at least making me interested in the person she's talking about. I'm not that interested in Barbara Walters, but I expect when I start reading this, I'm going to get interested because Susan Page is that kind of writer, and I'm reading this for her. Next up is Raw by Quantum, a self-published author. This was published in 2014, 250 pages. It is a speculative fiction novel in a world where magic and technology collide, leading to unpredictable and dangerous consequences. Protagonists navigate a complex landscape of power and intrigue. Where did I hear about this? I heard about Quantum, this guy who is this, I don't want to say fan fiction writer, but he's a self-published writer who does apparently very thoughtful, Lovecraftian, speculative fiction. He has no audiobooks, so it's going to be probably a text-to-speech book for me. But he seems so intriguing. He's apparently a computer programmer who's also an author. And I don't know what to expect, but honestly, I have really high expectations. And the fact that I'm picking this book up, when I have so many others that I want to read. I mean, we all have thousands of books we want to read, but like, there's just something about him that I just really want to see what it's like. And I'm hoping this could be really satisfying sci-fi from someone who is a STEM expert and just knows how to write good sci-fi. I don't know, but I'm excited to try him out. Obviously, he's not someone who's a lot of attention. I've never once heard about him on YouTube. I think I found him when I was just looking at popular Lovecraftian books on Goodreads. And then the next one is The Anubis Gates by Tim Powers, published in 1983, 387 pages. It is a time-traveling adventure through 19th century London where a scholar uncovers secrets and faces supernatural threats. I love time travel, and this one is one of the most popular. It doesn't necessarily appeal to me, particularly the cover. It just makes me feel like something interesting, but I just know it's very popular, and I recently heard it talked about in a nonfiction book about books by Jo Walton, where she talked really highly about this. And I think it was enough to really push it over the ledge of something I think I would enjoy. And I also think it's one of those books that is likely to just be an enjoyable ride, even if it's not the best thing ever. I don't know what to expect, but I expect it to be enjoyable. If it's not that, well, I may not push through it, but it'll also help with my backlist. TBR goal. Now moving on to ARCs. We have first up, The Skin Was Once Mine by Eric LaRocca, published in 2024. Well, I guess all these are published in 2024. 212 pages. It's a collection of short stories exploring themes of horror and identity, delving into the macabre and unsettling aspects of human experience. Each tales confront the dark and disturbing transformations of its characters. Okay. I keep wanting to try Eric LaRocca, and I have not. I've sort of been postponing it mostly because I was in the middle of a speculative collection for a while. It took me a while to read, and I'm finally through it, and I want to prioritize their book here. Next up is Craft by Amanda Lemma, 181 pages. This is again a short story collection about a woman writing stories for the devil. She has to deal with the devil. I believe it has to do with Brazilian American immigrant experiences that are surreal and imaginative. I just thought it was a really intriguing idea. Who doesn't love witchcraft and magic and the devil? I just know I love it. And so that was enough to pull me in. I've never heard of this author. So really it was the cover and that's the premise that pulled me in on this one. Next we have Where I End by Sophie White. This was actually published in 2022. It is 232 pages. I think it's getting republished by Tor, which is why it's a NetGalley arc now. And it's about a teenager who lives in a remote Irish island with her silent, bedridden mother of a private disease. When a new artist and her baby arrive, she has a yearning for connection, and the dark secrets of her family's unleash a maelstrom of events. About family and obsession, it's haunting and unsettling. I originally chose to read this because it was the winner of, I think, the Shirley Jackson Award, or a nominee. I'm pretty sure it was the winner. When I saw it was on NetGalley, obviously I wanted to request it, figured it'll help motivate me to read it. And naturally it will. It comes out in September or October, so I'll probably read it closer to there. I'm not sure if it's on audio. I guess we'll find out. Speaking of audio, next up is The Night Guest by Hildur Knudsen. 208 pages. It is translated by Mary Robinette Kowal, and it is about a person who suffers a chronic exhaustion and strange injuries that no one can explain. After discovering that she walks thousands of steps in her sleep, she uncovers a horrifying truth that intertwines her waking and sleeping self. It has to do with psychological horror, and it's apparently eerie and unsettling. I love Mary Robinette Kowal, and I think that's how I discovered this book when I saw that she was translating it. She's not usually someone I would associate with horror. Even when she did a mystery, it was like kind of campy. This was not a horror vibe. She's translating, so it's not like she's authoring it, but still, it's just hard to imagine her attached to something like this. Nevertheless, I'm actually pretty excited. She is going to be the narrator as well. I have an e-arc for it, but I'll probably wait till the audiobook comes out and read it as soon as it does. And hopefully it's good enough to be reviewed. Next up, we have The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. 288 pages. 18-year-old Jiwon struggles with her father's departure and her mother's new boyfriend. Her life spirals as she dreams of bloody rooms full of eyes, reflecting her growing rage and desire for revenge. It is psychological horror and family. I don't know much about this. I just think I got this requested a while back. It came out in April, I think, and I've been procrastinating. I need to get to it, and I'm hoping to do that this quarter. Then finally, Cuckoo by Gretchen Felker Martin, 352 pages. This is her second book, I think. It's set in the 1990s. Following 5 queer teens sent to a brutal conversion camp. I say that with such positivity, where they must fight the dark forces that haunts them. It's about queer survival and body horror. Oh God, I've never read anything about this book. until now. So I'm actually pretty excited for this. I've been wanting to read her books. I just hadn't get around to it. And I got granted this audio arc by NetGalley, by Macmillan Audio. And I would have gotten to it sooner, honestly, probably for Pride Month, but then I didn't download it in time. And the way the audiobooks work on NetGalley is I couldn't get access to it. And it's not on Libby yet, and it's not on Everend. And if I have to, I'm going to buy it on Audible, but I'm hoping it'll come up on Libby or Everend before I have to do that, because I hate buying a book that I'm reviewing for free. I guess it was my fault for not downloading it. But then again, the NetGalley app sucks. All of these books that are NetGalley, I will have the goal of reviewing them if they are thoughtful enough. I want to try and promote a book if it's good, but if I have just okay feelings, or like even if it's good but not much to say, I won't really review it on video. We'll always have written reviews. But any of these could honestly go on video review if they end up being exceptionally good or exceptionally bad. Those are some of the books I plan on reading in this next quarter. Again, you can check out my backlist TBR videos from antiquity through the 2000s if you'd like to see other books I'm trying to read this year, which the 20,000s book isn't out yet, but it should be coming out in the coming weeks. Probably not too quickly because I don't want too many TBR videos back to back. That's what the whole reason it didn't come up originally, and now I procrastinated way too long. Either way, if you made it to the end, thanks. Let me know if any of these stories intrigue you, or you have anything you're planning on reading this quarter, or any new releases you're excited for. But as always, have a great day and stay safe, and I'll see you all next time.